force investigate 178,459 alleged missing firearms. In foreign news, Pakistani court sentences a Muslim woman to death for committing blasphemy. And in sports stories, defending champion Algeria bundled out of the African Cup of Nations. I am Tomisin Ojo. President Muhammadu Buhari has in Kaduna on Thursday recalled with nostalgia how he narrowly escaped being bombed near the Kawa Bridge while traveling to Katsina State in July 2014. Buhari, who was at the newly constructed Kawa Bridge executed by the El Rufai administration, said there was an attempt to bomb him at a nearby market, but his security escort were vigilant to repel the attack. The Kawa Bridge was a project many said had become a cynosure which had attracted many tourists to Kaduna since its inception. As part of visit to Kaduna, the president also commissioned the ultra-modern sports and shopping complex at Moritala Square, Kaduna, where he reiterated the likelihood of his staying in Kaduna after leaving office. President Muhammadu Buhari commended the foresight and developmental acumen of El Rufai's administration, pointing out that Kaduna would be difficult for a long-time visitor to recognize. And the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, today presided over the first National Economic Council NEC meeting in 2022 at the State House Conference Hall, Abuja. The council membership includes the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustapha, Minister of the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, Malam Mohammed Bello, and the 36 state governors. The NEC meeting is physically attended by some state governors, while others attended virtually from their state capital. A communique is expected to be issued at the end of the meeting after being briefed by relevant government agencies on economic programs of the government. The NEC, which meets monthly, is constitutionally empowered to advise the President on national economic matters.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Bauchi, constitute a critical additional benefit of these projects.
FAC for distribution to the states. Was a document for us to note the decision that was reached by the FAC committee, the Federal Revenue Allocation Committee. They had, met. They had brought up a constitutional issue about the deductions of 13% derivation, which should have occurred before, before any expenditures. So this was a constitutional issue which had been dealt with, and it was realized that refunds had to be made as a result of those unconstitutional deductions. And
we were briefed on investing in adolescent girls to accelerate demographic transition in Nigeria by the chairman of the National Population Commission, Malam Nasiru Isa Kwara. During the process, he briefed us on the various democratic dividends on how to go about them. And he mentioned there are so many and very massive economic growth that we can get from there, especially at a time that Nigeria is talking about reducing poverty.
We also presented to Council for endorsement the official development assistance policy. And this policy is designed to guide the utilization of bilateral, multilateral, and non-governmental grants into the country. And it's also a policy that helps the Ministry of Budget and National Planning.
Moving down to the House of Representatives, they have passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill on Thursday. The lawmakers, however, revised the compulsory direct primary clause. The bill was passed after the removal of Clause 84, requiring political parties to only select candidates through the direct primaries. The Senate had on Wednesday included a consensus mode of primary in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill as suggested by President Muhammadu Buhari. Both chambers of the National Assembly, the Senate and the House of Representatives, however, deleted compulsory direct primaries from the bill. While the House gave options of parties adopting primaries, either direct or indirect, the Senate included direct, indirect, as well as consensus as options for political parties. President Muhammadu Buhari had last year vetoed the electoral bill and sent it back to the National Assembly over the restriction of political parties to just direct primaries. And the House of Representatives has moved to investigate the alleged missing 178,459 firearms and ammunition from the armory of the Nigeria Police Force. This was signaled to a motion of urgent public importance moved by the Deputy Minority Leader, Honorable Toby Okechukwu, on Thursday at plenary. Honorable Okechukwu said this was contained in the 2019 report of the Auditor General of the Federation, which was further stated that over 88,000 of the firearms missing are AK-47 rifles, which could not be accounted for by the police. House of Representatives correspondent Linda Ike reports that the fight against terrorism and banditry, according to Okechukwu, needs these weapons to succeed. Idris Washi, however, said the ad hoc committee already set up by the House should also be allowed to carry out the criminal aspect of the investigation instead of constituting a new committee. The motion was subsequently adopted and referred to the Standard Committee for further legislative action.
Instead of queuing behind of the Auditor General's report of 2017, 2018, 20, this should be brought up to speed.
Intending with the motion that we passed before the exit of our House, the committee constituted to look into the issue of those who are releasing criminals, and this is a very much related motion to it. I will have said in line with our rules to allow the police committee to do, but we have a duplication of function.
I think this motion is in order. It captures both the prayers, both the views, opinions canvassed by my leader, the Deputy Speaker, and Honorable Fulata. Because if you look at the second leg of the prayer, sir, it's very clear.
Police, and they are least. This issue of now arms and accusations disappearing, and ended up where they may be with armed robbers is part of it.
But since we've already set up an ad hoc committee, whether erroneously or not, I don't know, let them continue or bring a motion to rescind that decision. I think that's the best, the procedure, the way to go about it.
Still talking security, the Nigeria Defense Headquarters, the HQ, has called on the general public to continue to avail security forces with credible and timely information that will aid the armed forces and other security agencies' proactive operational engagements in the country. This call was made by the Director of Defense Media Operations, the MO, Major General Bernard Onyekwo, while speaking with newsmen in Abuja on Thursday to highlight the operational activities of troops and other security agencies conducting operations to tackle security challenges in the country between the 6th and 28th of January 2022. Troops of Operation Hacking Kai conducted various land and air operations in different locations of the theater, adding that some of the operations were conducted at different locations in towns, villages, and forests under Gonduga, Mafa, Dikwa, Goza, Bama, Bayo, Kukawa, Mungunu, Ngazai, and Damboa local government areas of Borno State, as well as locations inside the Sambisa forest. Our correspondent Miriam Enakimo reports that the DMO noted the troops also recorded significant results at various locations in Adamawa and Yobe states around the Mandara Mountain and also Damaturu Potoskom Road, respectively, noting the ground troops, with the support of air component, aggressively foiled terrorist attempts infiltration into Biu town in Borno State.
Ground troops, with support of the air component, foiled terrorist attempted infiltration in Biu town in Borno State. During the encounter, troops neutralized scores of the terrorists, captured their gun trucks and other weapons. Relatedly, the air component of Operation Hadinkai scored devastating hits on terrorist stronghold at Arena Chiki village in the Lake Chad Basin in Borno State, which resulted in the neutralization of scores of bandits, while several others escaped with gunshot wounds. This feat was achieved on 14th January 2022, when on the heels of credible intelligence, a force package of nav platforms were dispatched to attack the identified location, which the terrorists used as a venue for their meetings. Consequently, the nav platforms took out the terrorists in successive turns of airstrikes.
The Director General, Nigeria Institute of International Affairs, NIIA, Professor Egosa Osage, has expressed the agency's readiness to strengthen its capacity and deliverables in 2022. The DG said this in accordance with the agency's mandate of research, promotion of interest and understanding of international affairs. He made this known during a roundtable discussion on Pakistan-Nigeria relations, avenues of cooperation in Lagos. Professor Osage explained that collaboration with other countries is inexcusable in this regard. The DG therefore noted that the agency has lined up 10 new collaborations within the first quarter of the year. Speaking on the rationale behind the roundtable, Professor Osage said it is to engage in collaborative studies and research and the exchange of researchers who would focus on particular needs of both countries. He therefore explained that they have been able to identify the defense industry, such as military and other security forces, including trade and economic relations, as areas they can start with. The Grassroots Network Alliance for Tinubu has adopted a grassroots strategy aimed at canvassing massive support for all Progressive Congress national leader Bola Ahmed Tinubu across grassroots levels to assist in canvassing electorates to vote for him during the 2023 presidential elections. The group stated that their support was a way to show their appreciation for what Tinubu has done for them as a father and a leader throughout his administration of governance, adding it is their utmost aim to ensure that they canvass massively to fulfill his presidential aspirations through grassroots levels. Expressed optimism that Tinubu would win the 2023 general elections because of his robust capacity, which will lead the country to the desired development for all and sundry. Adding that the legacy of Tinubu in Nigerian politics was a clear indication it is the leader Nigeria needs. Speaking in Lagos, the group chairman Abiodun Mafe said the aim of the group was centered on ensuring Tinubu's aspirations will get all the necessary vote to secure victory in the 2023 general elections.
To garner support for his aspiration come 2023, by the special grace of God, we are working throughout the 774 local government and 37 development area, so that all our members, all politics are local, all our members, all political office holders and politicians, we are going crisscross throughout the federation to garner support for him, so that by the time we pick the ticket from our party APC, we now be the president. We are the group 2, we are the full soldiers who will work for him judiciously for his aspiration for 2023.
We want a man who will be able to help us make our Naira to appreciate. We know what the Naira used to be, the value of the Naira. We want someone who can do that. We want someone who has a connection within Nigeria, who can mobilize people within Nigeria. We also want a person who can set the right policies. Because you agree with me that for the economy to grow and for us to attract foreign investment, we need to have the right policies in place. He has done that before. He has put the right policies in place in Lagos, and that is why Lagos is where Lagos is today.
To have a leader who has vision, who is on a mission, and who has direction, and who is following the path. He has been on this mission for the past 23 years. I sat down here and I wrote 1999 for 23, I got 23. And I asked myself, is it Adidenta that is asking for this leadership again in 2023? By the grace of God, who is the creator of all, come 2023, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu will be.
Lawmakers from the Northeast Zone under the platform of the ruling All Progressive Congress have endorsed the 2023 presidential aspiration of Governor Yahya Bello of Kogi State. The endorsement is coming after their colleagues in the North Central endorsed Governor Bello for president during their one-day extraordinary meeting in Abuja last week. In the communique issued on Thursday in Bauchi after the extraordinary meeting of the Forum of APT State Legislators of the Northeast Zone, the State Assembly legislators declared their total support for presidency for Bello. They also called on the leadership of the APC to zone the presidency to the northern region of the country for fairness and equity. The communique issued at the end of the meeting noted that the State Assembly legislators of the Northeast, who was elected by the people of the 6 states that make up the geopolitical zone, hereby agree to support their colleagues in the North Central to contest for the position of the President of Nigeria come 2023, which is a position the zone had hitherto been deprived of since Nigeria became independent in 1960. It said the State Assembly legislators of the Northeast Zone passed the vote of confidence in the President of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, for his sterling and cohesive leadership of Nigeria through thick and thin, and urged him to be relentless in ensuring he leaves Nigeria in 2023 a better place. The communique was signed by the chairman of the committee, Right Honorable Abubakar Sadiq Ibrahim, Gombe State, Barrister, and Bashir Mohammed, Taraba State, among others. And the Lagos State government has beckoned on the entire Christians to emulate the virtues and good deeds of late President of the Christ Apostolic Mission Church, CAMC, Pastor Adesoji Ajayi, who died after a brief illness. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, while speaking at the special songs of praise in honor of the late sage at his church in Abule Egba, he was represented by the Special Advisor on Chieftaincy Affairs, Elder Bayo Oshiyemi, who is also a member of the church, mentioned he is very generous and he is a philanthropy.
He was a generous man, very kind. He was philanthropic and he relished education and assisted so many members of the mission to achieve their lifelong ambition of having proper education. Some of those who benefited are attested to that today. And I believe that the era of Simeon Ajayi in CMC cannot be forgotten in a hurry.
Correspondent Blessing Abiori reports that the Vice President of the church, Pastor Babatunde Taiwo, who led others, said the tributes to the deceased cannot be enough, as the late Pastor Adesoji Ajayi was known for his generosity and most especially modesty in all his doings. Pastor Taiwo disclosed that the deceased implored the congregation to give him an Islamic-like burial because he described himself as a modest ceremony when he passes on. The deceased friends and members of his church stated that the late Pastor Simon Adesoji Ajayi would be remembered for all his good deeds in life and the church at large. The daughter of the deceased, Priscilla Ajayi, and other members of his family, and said his legacy would forever live, as he was the man who loved to give to the needy.
He's not a flamboyant type. Before he died, he said in many fora that I am a man that believes in if I die today, bury me tomorrow. My grave, make sure you do not set any blocks, nor lay tiles. I want my body to touch the earth so that it will decay very fast. He's a man like that. He said he loved that in the Muslim religion. He does not believe in dying, taking him to the morgue, staying in the morgue for days, months, or years. He does not believe in that.
Transform the church beyond human comprehension. Through his leadership, we are able to achieve a lot. His demise will create a vacuum that only God can assist to cover the whole vacuum.
His biggest virtue was the concept of love. He loves people. He does so much to satisfy people, and he's a very disciplined man. And I think that much he has passed on to us. And I intend, God help me, to build on that legacy.
And I will tell the mission also to continue the work of the Lord. He has started it, and I pray we all finish well. The race is for us to go well, to get to the finish line, which we thank God that He has gotten there. So to God be the glory.
The Golden Lions Club Ikeja has extended its hand of fellowship to people living under the Okpebe Link Bridge as part of its activities to kick out anger from the society. A former president of the group, Lion Bridget Banigbola, will lead our team to distribute food to the people around the slum, hinted that the Lions Club, with its experience in sustaining and upholding the importance of corporate social responsibility, will continue to give back to the needy. She explained that corporate social responsibility is a singular and modest way to recognize and identify with the needs of the society in which one operates. She said such brings emotional attachment to people and encourages love, also creates a long-lasting bond between the giver and the receiver. On her part, Lion Ariola Yoloye said the club will continue to play its role in building a strong foundation for the future of younger ones.
It's to do with providing for the hungry, something like that. And so we are here. You can see that this place is a slum. We have masses of people here have come to relate with them, to give something as spaghetti to help relieve their hunger, sort of. So that's why we are here. How was their response?
Small things they make people happy. So we decide say today may we come put smile on people's face for here to make everybody happy. It's not too much, it's small, but una go help us take it like that.
As in trying to touch lives, the life of the needy, the less privileged, the whole idea is putting smile on the face through food. So the little we have, we give to the needy. We achieved our aim in sense of putting smiles on their face.
The Lagos Waste Management Authority, LOMA, has embarked on a two-day enforcement operation at Lekki Axis from today to clear the roadside of illegal activities defacing the environment. The operation would ensure the area was rid of structures and elements constituting environmental nuisance, such as littering and improper waste disposal, currently undermining efforts of the authority at maintaining sustainable cleanliness. In a statement by the Director of Public Affairs for Lashade Kadri, the Managing Director of Loma, Ibrahim Odumboni, said street trading activities by some persons in the area had attracted all forms of gatherings, including beggars, leading to a high level of environmental degradation, including littering and open defecation. Explains that Loma had rolled out various programs and initiatives aimed at achieving a consistently clean environment across the metropolis, calling on residents to support those efforts by avoiding indiscriminate waste disposal. The United States and Russia are having it out on the build-up on Ukraine's border. They want to know why. We'll bring you details of that story and others from the foreign scene after this break. Welcome back. The United States and Russia have dug in their heels over Russia's military build-up on Ukraine's border, with no sign either will relent from entrenched positions that have raised fears of a Russian invasion and a new war in Europe. In advance of critical talks Friday between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov of Russia, the two sides appear no closer to any compromise that might ease tensions and avert the threat of a Russian invasion. Ukraine, meanwhile, said it was prepared for the worst and would survive whatever difficulties come its way. On a visit to Ukraine's capital, Kiev, on Wednesday, Blinken accused Russia of planning to reinforce more than 100,000 troops it has deployed along the Ukrainian border and suggested that number could double on relatively short order. Blinken did not elaborate, but Russia has sent an unspecified number of troops from the country's far east to its ally Belarus, which also shares a border with Ukraine, for major war games next month. Speaking during a news conference at the White House later on Wednesday, U.S. President Joe Biden predicted Russia would make a move on Ukraine, saying it would pay dearly for a full-scale invasion, but suggesting there could be a lower cost for a minor incursion. A Pakistani court has sentenced the Muslim woman to death for committing blasphemy by sharing images deemed to be insulting to Islam's Prophet Muhammad and one of his wives, also considered a holy personage by many Muslims. The trial court in the northern Pakistani city of Rawalpindi sentenced Anika Atiq under the country's strict blasphemy laws, which imposes a mandatory death penalty for insulting the Prophet Muhammad. Judge Adnan Mustaq wrote in his verdict in its case that the blasphemous material, which was shared and installed by the female accused on her status on WhatsApp message platform, and the messages as well as caricatures which were sent to the complainant, are totally unbearable and not tolerable for a Muslim. Atiq, a 26-year-old woman, had pleaded not guilty to the charges, which were first filed in May 2020. In the statement to the court, Atiq said her accuser, Hasnat Farouk, had deliberately pulled her into a religious discussion to frame her after she refused to be friendly towards him. The two had met on a popular online multiplayer game and continued communicating on WhatsApp. Atiq's death sentence is subject to confirmation by the Lahore High Court, a forum before which she also has the right to appeal. Coming up next is sports. Please stay tuned. Former champion of the 2019 African Cup of Nations, the Desert Foxes of Algeria, have been bundled out of this year's ongoing 2021 Africa Cup of Nations in Cameroon. Algeria were beaten 3-1 by fellow Group E contender, the Elephants of Ivory Coast, for a place in the round of 16. Both teams slogged it out in what was a battle for supremacy, with the Algerian national team needing an outright win to see them book a place in the knockout phase of the competition. Goals from AC Milan's midfielder Franck Kessie, Arsenal's Nicolas Pepe and Sangre, and a consolation goal from Algeria's Ben Debka ensured Ivory Coast tops Group E with 7 points and qualifies for the round of 16, where they will be awaiting their opponent. Equatorial Guinea also booked a ticket to the round of 16 after beating Sierra Leone by a lone goal, finished second with 6 points. Algeria exited the 2021 African Cup of Nations rock bottom of Group E with just 1 point, having played out a goalless draw against the Sierra Leone Stars of Sierra Leone. And Barcelona director of football Matteo Almeni has informed Ousmane Dembele to leave the club immediately after repeatedly turning down the offer of a new contract. The Catalan Giants have been in talks with the France international since July over extending his existing deal, which runs out at the end of the season. Dembele has struggled to establish himself as a key player at Camp Nou since joining from Borussia Dortmund in 2017 for an initial €105 million due to persistent injury setbacks. Barcelona head coach Xavi recently insisted Dembele could become the best in the world in his position, as he underlined his desire for the forward to agree fresh terms. However, his agent, Musa Sissoko, said he would not bow to pressure from Barcelona over his client's future. Sissoko also accused the club of making threats of no longer playing in the side, rather than engaging in productive talks with Dembele. In the news tonight, Osinbajo presided over today's 2022 NEC maiden meeting. And the House of Representatives have passed the electoral bill without the compulsory direct primary clause. The House of Representatives is set to investigate 178,459 alleged missing firearms. And Pakistani court has sentenced a Muslim woman to death for committing blasphemy. While in sports, Algeria, defending champion of the Africa Cup of Nations, have been bonded out of the games. I am Tomi Siojodo. Have a pleasant night rest. Good night.